Hey everyone, today's Haunted Tales from Tennessee is about a Ouija board session that had gone wrong. Now, this is not my story, this is my friend's mom's story. So, it was told to me originally in 2008, 2009 or so, that the original story had happened to her back when she was a teenager in the late 80s. So, my friend Jonathan's mom, her name is Julie, she's an amazing person. This happened to her when she was like 16 or 17 years old, and she was dating this guy, roughly her age, maybe a little bit older. And at this point in time, he just happened to have a coke problem. Now, this is not to belittle him in any way, of course, this is just to give you a backstory. So one day, her and her sister went to hang out with her boyfriend. They went and hung out at the movies, went to the park, went to dinner, something normal. So after they said their goodbyes, I love you too, I'll see you tomorrow, whatever. So they went in their separate ways. So of course they're going down the same road because they were headed back to town in the same direction. And her boyfriend's car happened to be in front of her car, and her sister was driving, okay? So, after a few minutes of heading back home, they realized that they were being followed by another vehicle. So, this vehicle then gets up close behind her and her sister's car. They're looking in the rear view mirror, wondering why this guy's following them so closely. There's two men in the car who then pulls up beside them, get a good look at them, and see that there are two women. They're not who they were looking for. So, then that car gets in front of theirs, cuts them off in traffic, and then starts riding the tail of her boyfriend's car. At this point in time, she was very fully aware of her boyfriend's drug problem at the time, so you can kind of infer who it was that was following her boyfriend's car. I believe they just made the assumption that her boyfriend owed somebody a whole bunch of money. A few seconds later, the mysterious vehicle that was following both of them then pulls up beside her boyfriend's car. He's driving and swerving through oncoming traffic, and this is about sundown, so there was still just enough lighting that they could see what was going on. They can plainly see that somebody in the passenger seat then pulls out a pistol, and she unfortunately watches her boyfriend get shot and murdered on the road, watches his car run off the road, and that's like the most horrific thing that could ever happen. I could not imagine that happening to me present day, much less when I was like 16 or 17. So, after her boyfriend's death, of course, teenage Julie is absolutely in shambles. She's grieving and she gets a little bit curious. She's reading up on the afterlife and the paranormal and things, and her sisters decide to acquire a Ouija board to try and contact her boyfriend. So they schedule it, they make a night of it, they invite all of their friends at school, and they all sit down and have a sleepover and a big old seance for this man just to try out the Ouija board and see how it goes. So they start messing with the little planchette thing on the Ouija board. They're scooting it around and they're calling his name. I don't know his name, let's call him Andrew. So she's saying, Andrew, it's me, Julie. If you can hear me, please answer. Please answer, I love you. So they wait a few minutes and then they wave around the planchette a little bit, and finally there is an answer. The Ouija board starts to move their hands to specific letters. After about 15 minutes or so, the letters on the Ouija board start to spell out, Is that you, Julie? So she's saying, like, yes, yes, it's me, Julie. Who is this? Who is this? And the Ouija board then replies, It's me, Andrew. I love you. So, of course, Miss Julie is in just tears and she's just so happy to have reached him. And this is also within a few days of his funeral, mind you. So, he's not had, at that point in time, had left the earth more than 40 days. Just saying. I don't know if that's y'all's tradition, but in my tradition, it's like a 40-day thing that they can still roam the earth. Anyway, side note. So Miss Julie is still grieving, and she then makes the Ouija board thing a habit, and she does it like all the time. So there'd been a couple times she had got her and her sister and then rallied up all the girls for a sleepover, and they're playing with the Ouija board again, and the other girls are then asking it questions like, who am I gonna marry, when am I gonna get pregnant, you know, whatever teenage girls do. So she then makes it a habit of reaching out to Andrew, and they're, I love you too, are you safe, yes, you know, everything's great and dandy. Well, one day things changed for Julie. One day, Julie started up her same thing again. Hey, it's me, Julie. Andrew, are you there? Ouija board doesn't act the same way it did all the other times before. The planchette just starts kind of jiggling around, going in circles, going everywhere, and she's like, can somebody answer me? Andrew, can you answer me if you can hear me? No answer from Andrew, of course, but the Ouija board is acting like it's having a seizure. So she then happens to look over and she can see that her sister's face, how she explained it, is twisting. Her facial features and her muscles in her face is then twisting, and her sister's not answering. Okay, so they're like, that's really weird. So what do we do now? She looks over across the circle, and her other homegirl from school, her face is also twisting, and she's not answering either. Let's name her Jessica. Jessica's not answering. Okay, so then her other sister is like, okay, what do we do? What do we do? And they're like, okay, well, Granddad's a preacher. We've got, I don't know, what do we do? I guess we say the Lord's Prayer. And they're like, well, what's the Lord's Prayer? I don't remember it. Did you pay attention in church? No. So they're like, all right, well, let's call Granddad and see if we can get a hold of him so that we can recite the Lord's Prayer. So, of course, this is back in the 80s. They had a landline. So they get on their landline phone. They try to call up their granddad. The lights flicker. The lights cut off. The phone line is also doing that weird buzzing thing. So the phone then cuts off. It took them several tries to get a hold of their granddad. They finally got a hold of their granddad. So he answers, and they're like, help, help, Granddad. We started playing with a Ouija board. There's stuff going on. What's the Lord's Prayer? So he's like, oh, God, okay. Repeat after me. And he starts in Our Father. Phone line cuts off. They have to call him back again. So finally, bless his heart, their granddad finally got all of the Lord's Prayer out to them so that they could recite the Lord's Prayer because they didn't pay attention, didn't memorize it the first time. Anyway, so they finally get it out, and then they look over at her one sister. Her face starts to return to normal. She looks over at her homegirl Jessica. Her face starts to return to normal, and everything seems to subside. The energy in the room is back to normal. It's just more calm, no craziness. And after that, because that scared them enough, they decide to get rid of the Ouija board, of course. So they decide, well, maybe, are we supposed to burn it? I don't know. Some people are saying, let's not burn it. Let's just put it in a dumpster, maybe wrap it up real good so nobody ever gets it out and plays with it ever again. So they're going down the road. They've got the Ouija board and the planchette in like a large gallon-size Glad baggie in the back seat of the car, and they're driving down the road to the landfill. Because if they figured, oh, well, somebody might dumpster dive one day, let's just go on ahead and throw it in the big landfill, so hopefully nobody's going to dig through that. So as they're driving down the road to the landfill, Julie turns around and looks in the back seat at the Ouija board in the bag, and she notices that the Ouija board is then outside of the Glad bag. It's sitting on top of the Glad bag, and the planchette is sitting on top of the Ouija board ready to be played with again. So Julie then puts it back in the Glad bag. They finally make it to the landfill. They duct tape this Glad bag shut and they punt it all the way in the middle of the landfill. And hopefully it never returns again. So guys, as I always tell my friends, if you're trying to contact the dead, there's many other and safer ways to go about doing that. So don't play with the Ouija board. Like, even just look at the name of the Ouija board. Oui is French for yes. Ja or ja is German for yes. Just saying. Just don't do it. The dude does not abide. Okay? Be safe, y'all.